Franco Colapinto has been linked to a sensational move in Alpine despite missing out on a seat for 2025, and even though many considered the lineup for the Enstone-based squad to be fixed for a long time to come, that now doesn't seem to be the case at all. But with Franco leading the list of causing the most damage to the car and having the least amount of races apart from certain rookies, is this the right move for Alpine? And in which case, would they pursue the signature of the young Argentinian driver? It's safe to say that Franco Colapinto has won the hearts of the Formula One fans after stepping in for Logan Sargent, and scoring 5 points in 2024 has definitely brought a lot of value to his name. That's why he's been linked with many teams on the grid, Red Bull involved, who were ready to pair him up with Verstappen directly and not even give him a chance to prove himself in the sister team Racing Bulls like they did with De Vries. But with their interest simmering down very fast, it's now very interesting to see how Colapinto will bode against other drivers when the market reopens again in 2026. A team that expressed high interest in him is Alpine, and while many don't believe they have what it takes to promote Colapinto's talents to the next level, we should note how in just a couple of races they managed to leap from P9 to P6 in the Constructors' Championship. This meant that they were able to gain around $30 million in cash prize money, more than they would have got if they finished at P9. So with this in mind, they have opened up their operating pool and are ready to compete for wins and podiums sooner rather than later. And while the pillar of the project is Gasly and his amazing achievement that hasn't been done by any other driver on the grid, finishing the season with zero damage in repair costs, the team will still need a strong second driver in order to perform well alongside the Frenchman. Of course, Doan is here to prove that his strengths in Formula 2 can translate well into Formula 1 as well, similar to how Colapinto proved that to Williams. But there have been rumours that the Australian has been given a 5-race contract with Alpine, and that was the primary reason why they decided to give him a try in Abu Dhabi and accommodate him to the machinery as much as possible. Therefore, Colapinto is in a very serious condition to secure a stable spot in a team that might be competing very high once they become a Mercedes customer. And this is something that has been discussed by the executive advisor of the team, Flavio Briatore. Whether you like him or not, after all of the controversial cases he's gone through, including the Crashgate back in 2008, he is a pure racer and approaches the entire Alpine situation without any emotion and solely with a cold-headed mindset. When talking about Colapinto and him being an option for 2026, Briatore said, "I am interested in any driver who is fast, including Colapinto. Franco surprised everyone, but we have contracts with Gasly, Doan and the reserve driver Paul Aron for next season. If there was an opportunity to get Colapinto for 2026, you have to think about it." Of course, this is something that goes well for Colapinto and Williams as well, because Vowles did mention that even if Colapinto would be stealing points away from his team, he is working hard on securing him a seat as soon as possible, because he is part of their family and that is what means the most for the Grove-based squad. But again, a good race or two means that the price of the driver suddenly goes up, and Colapinto's first couple of races have increased this value massively, despite him being the leader on the blacklist when it comes to causing damage to the car through crashes. Even though he has raced in only 9 races, Colapinto has caused around €5 million in damage to the car, breaking 5 front wings and noses, 6 front suspensions, 3 floors and a chassis, among other parts. Right below him is Albon, who sits right below the €5 million mark, and obviously this haunted Williams and their 2025 season. But that doesn't mean Colapinto isn't ready for the big show. We've seen that Antonelli crashed the W15 in the free practice in Monza, trying to prove what material he's made of, and while mistakes like this would have been limited in Alpine due to their operating cost and then becoming a customer team, it is something that could bring them a lot of points and potentially push them into the top 4. Briatore, however, doesn't agree with the price that's been given by Williams, and when talking about it, he said that the circumstances would have to be something that fit his team, as he is not willing to make this commitment by any cost whatsoever. Furthermore, he elaborated, Nevertheless, you always have to be careful when assessing drivers. In this sport, you quickly get hyped up after a good race, then the price rises and suddenly we are talking about $20 or $30 million. The choice today is much greater than it used to be. Today, there are 6 to 7 promising drivers in Formula 2 and Formula 3. We want to concentrate on the good ones in our academy and no longer run around with a watering can. It will probably come down to 3 drivers, Aaron, Gabriel Mini and Victor Martins. This doesn't bode as well for Colapinto as he hoped, because he would have to lower his standards if he is present on the grid sooner rather than later, as the time to capitalise on the momentum is slowly but surely fading away, and many might remember him for the damages that he caused rather than the points he scored in 2024. This is why he needs to redeem himself sooner rather than later, and when talking about his future, Colapinto stated that while the chances to drive in 2025 are slim to none, especially with Red Bull's interest being shut down, he doesn't lose hope, adding, "I really want to be racing and still be active. I want to always be part of the paddock. I think it's very important. I love racing. If it's not here, because there is not a chance for 2025, I hope to be around 2026 or 2027. I hope to be showing that I deserve a seat here. But if I cannot be racing instead of looking at the TV for 24 races, I would love to be driving a car as well." Now, Briatore has a very strict plan in front of him, and obviously he is setting the pace for the rest of the grid. So with the €30 million bonus in cash prize money that the team will have in 2025, it's obvious that they would want to stay right where they are and focus on the new regulations in 2026, where they will use Mercedes engines and gearboxes. This would help them a lot in trying to achieve greater results, and according to Briatore, this was the best decision that they could have done, because Renault did absolutely nothing to prove their worth to the team, and decisions like this can't be made based on emotions but rather with a cold-headed approach. The executive advisor believes that the Mercedes engines will give them the first title bid in 2027, while in 2026 they will be able to fight for race wins in the first season of the new regulations. And when elaborating on this situation, he added, "We have taken a big step towards our development and improved to the same level as Haas and Racing Bulls, but that was already a step for 2025. It wouldn't have been worth the effort for a few races in 2024. We had actually already ticked off that year. That is why I told the engineers we'll only bring the upgrade if it will help us next year. Alpine must always be in the top 6 next year, maybe a podium every now and then. We have to improve our car to achieve this. That should be possible. Aerodynamically, we have much more room for manoeuvre than Ferrari or McLaren. In 2026, we want to be on the podium in 50% of all races. Then you automatically win one or another race. In 2027, we must be able to compete for the title." Obviously, Mercedes will play a huge role here, but what we must not forget is that Red Bull is entering the new regulations with their own powertrain. And on the other hand, Honda and Aston Martin's relationship is now poised to take over the F1 world, because Lawrence Stroll made some great signatures like the ones of Cardile from Ferrari and Andy Cowell from Mercedes. With all this in mind, do you think that the pair-up of Gasly and Colapinto would dominate the grid in years to come? And do you think that Doan will be the driver who will fail in completing the tasks given to him? Let us know in the comments below, and if you're interested in Red Bull's recent shake-up regarding their drivers lineup, make sure to check out the video that's appearing on your screen right now.